Change your mind, change your thinking to change your results. Okay. Changing your results comes from changing your thinking. And changing your thinking comes from understanding what has already been implanted in your subconscious mind before you could even decide what you are going to think. And what I mean by that is understanding capitalism, racism, and patriarchy. You have to understand the power structures of this world in order to understand why you, as a woman, and most likely as a woman of color, why you think about yourself the way you think about yourself. So let's dive right in. Hi, my name is Jonna, and I am the owner and founder of Healing into Femininity. I am a strategic coach for women in corporate, women in business, and overall helping women to create the life that they truly desire. So, change your thinking to change your results. Life is literally a creation, and you have to understand that you create your life experience by understanding not only putting lipstick on a pig, right? Not only by putting now some kind of affirmations on top of what you have believing about yourself, what you have been believing about the world, what you have believing about women, what you have believing about men, what you have been believing about black people, white people, Asian people, Indian people, what you have been believing about rich people, poor people, middle class people, what you have been believing about all of that is what is your view on life, your perception. This is what we have to dive into. And that's such a complex topic. That's why I always like to say my content here is top notch and it's already going to help you. But if you really want to transform, get over into my community, work with me one on one, or sign up for the next cohort of the Life Mastery Program, a 6 months intensive where you are going to immerse yourself in the experiences that you truly desire while facing the aspects of yourself that you truly need to transform. Okay, but let's dive in. Today, we're talking about transforming mind because we have to start at the root. And the subconscious mind is literally like the soil. I always like to say the soil, like a garden, the soil. This is where seeds have been casted upon your soil of the mind, your subconscious mind, before you were able to set up a fence around your piece of land, your brain, your mind, to understand and say, this is what I actually want to cultivate, and this is not what I want to cultivate. So even before you consciously could decide, you already had seeds on the soil of your mind. And those seeds are now deeply rooted inside the soil of your mind. These are your subconscious beliefs. And these subconscious beliefs have to be questioned. Okay, these subconscious beliefs about the world, people, race, gender, power have to be questioned by you before you put lipstick on a pig, before you try to put perfume on a piece of shit. Okay, so that's very, very, very important that you understand that transformation goes very, very deep. And you can't solve a problem at the same level of thinking with which you created that. So you have to build a new capacity. This is when we focus on transformation of our thinking, right? We have to be reformed or refined or transformed by the renewing of our mind. And this is where we are diving into today. 4 steps of creating a new mind. Again, I always like to say all of my videos are a masterclass. If you really want to make the most out of spending your time with me, if you're already spending your time here with me, take out a piece of paper and a pen and just let what I'm saying like wash over you, but also make a few notes, what you are learning, what you're understanding, what you want to dive deeper into, to reflect upon, to change, right? Because you are the highest authority in your life and you will be triggered to actually think about something deeper. So let's dive in. So, this may be something that you are familiar with or that you're not familiar with, but of course, changing your subconscious mind is the beginning of changing your body, your beauty, your wealth, your money, your relationships, your confidence. Everything is in your subconscious mind, and understanding how the world works, and the world will try to keep you small. And I'm going to tell you a little cute story about how enslaved most people truly are. So transformation requires a consciousness of abundance. To those who have, more will be given. To those who have not, even what they have will be taken. You've probably heard that before. That is Mark 4:25. This may sound unfair, but we live in a very unfair world. But it's simply the law of consciousness, right? That is the law of consciousness. If you have a consciousness of abundance, it brings more and more good, not only experiences, but literally money, wealth, and assets. If you have a consciousness of abundance, you become part of the wealthy. Without a consciousness of abundance, even what you have will not remain. So, transformation requires expanding your awareness. If you want to dive deeper, it's a whole series. This is video 4. I made three other videos about that where we dive deeper into creating capacity for transformation, because potential is not transformation. You have to create awareness and capacity to be able to transform your results into something tangible. So what we need to do is to understand that abundance is infinite, right? In this universe, there is infinite good. You cannot overtake your good. That means you can become more beautiful, not by society standards, but you can become beautiful, right? Even in old age, you can stay healthy and vibrant and fit and beautiful by understanding that that's possible. You can become more and more successful and scale your business, grow up the ranks of success, right? Make more money because there is no end to abundance, right? So we want to pursue as much as possible because we want to grow. That is natural, right? That's very, very natural. So the real good is in expanding your awareness of who you are. It all starts with your self perception. Again, who are you? As I just said, do you believe what the world told you who you are, or who are you truly? With that awareness comes your access to possibility. Yeah. So you believing that you're powerful, that you're privileged, that it's an honor to be with you, that your time is valuable, that your knowledge is valuable, that your intellectual property is valuable, that your contacts, your social contacts are valuable. All of those things are valuable. But the question is, do you believe that, or do you give yourself away for pennies? Who do you think you are? Very important. And with that awareness, again, comes a possibility to grow capacity and to grow possibilities for transformation. So, transformation requires forming an image of your life, but also a self image. I also spoke about that in another video, that you need to change your identity. And identity is first how you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself, but also how you look. As I said, the mind thinks in pictures. So you have to become a picture. You have to become the image of the woman that you are capable of being. Transformation is about refinement. It's about you becoming the greatest, most beautiful version of yourself, right? And you will find out what you need to work on by the things that you're not so happy with. Okay, so your mind works in images, and you are the co creator with the infinite to create those images. You get to choose which images you call in. You get to choose what life experience you want to engage in. Yeah, for whatsoever is good or true or lovely, think of these things. Focus on beauty. Focus on the five senses, on beauty, on good smell, on good textures, on a nice ambiance. Focus on those things. Even in your life right now, make things better. Transformation requires you to bridge the gap between the life you are living right now and the life that you would truly love to live, right? You have to create a new normal, a new way. And again, that is the results formula. I always say that again and again. In order to create new results, you have to think a new way, feel a new way, speak a new way, act a new way, and then create new results. That is the upward spiral of creation. Think, feel, speak, act, have the result, right? Changing your thinking, changing your doing. That is so simple, but it's so simple that most people don't do it. So, right, this requires for you to be a new person that has new habits and new systems. Systems are automations, right? Something that you do. You wake up and then you do this and you do that, and it becomes a success ritual, right? You wake up. How do you wake up? Right? Do you make space? It's very important. What you do in the morning is also programming your subconscious mind, because your mind is still in a slumber state. And when we are in a slumber state, this is when we are most susceptible to what thoughts or what we do in that state, and it would recreate throughout the day. Right? So, what do you do in the morning? Then, how do you wake up? How are you giving yourself the opportunity to step into a good energy, right? The way you think, take hold of your mind, take hold of the mind and the course of your day, right? Then, what do you do? What kind of habits do you have? What kind of habits do you have? What do you repeat? Repetition is the mother of learning. Repetition is the groove. Repetition is who you become. You are what you do, right? So create a new normal, a new standard, right? This requires recognizing that life happens with you. With you. You have to do with it. You have to co create. It doesn't happen to you, right? Recognizing that everything that has ever happened in your life has happened with you is a more liberating position to take. It's a state of mind. It happened with you. It didn't happen to you. As long as you feel like a victim, you're powerless, right? It happened with you. It happened with you. So you can now say, okay, how can I move different from that place? We're not negating the past at all, but we want to take a new position in our own consciousness in order to get out of the victim mode, because victim mode is never co-creative, it's never powerful. So this requires you to step into power, into responsibility, into accountability, into a way of shaping, reshaping, recreating. So, Marianne Williamson, maybe you know her. She is one of the authors, or I think the author of A Course in Miracles, if I'm correct. She's a transformational teacher as well. So, she said, you're not really afraid of your darkness, right? You are afraid of your light. You are afraid of your power and everything that comes with it, because there is a lot of opposition that comes with it. I'm just going to say that. But in order to play to win and to assume more power and to grow more power and to think, act, feel, and move in power, you will have to assume your power, right? We're so afraid of that power because most of us are from, like, we have many enslaved parts. I always like to say you come from an oppressed mind, and we toy in these ideas in the arena, and we play small because we're so afraid, because we've never assumed power, depending on where you come from, where you are, or you've never assumed power in that arena that you're now wanting to claim, right? So power is being creative. It's about doing, it's about deciding, that it's being a leader of your own life and saying that that's the way, this is it, this is not it. So I want to tell you a little story, which I think is a beautiful, beautiful analogy. And this is what these stories are about. They're about you. Okay. It's not about just listening to somebody tell a story, but it's about you. It's your story. It's what these stories are talking about. It's about you. So it's Moses' story. Okay. So when Moses was giving the charge of freeing the slaves in Egypt, he felt unworthy and incapable. Again, it's about you and your vision. It's about you and your divine assignment. It's about you being called into leadership, you being called into creating something, whether it is a business or the next career step or another project that you have inside of you, the book, right, the film, the project, as said, whatever applies to you, right? When Moses was giving the charge of freeing the slaves in Egypt, he first felt unworthy and incapable. And that's how most of you feel, right? You feel like you're not worthy, you're not capable, and you are afraid of assuming the power of that effect that you want to create. He went to the Pharaoh anyway. So, what does that mean? Like going to the Pharaoh? He went to the Pharaoh anyway, and he was refused. So, Moses knew that there was a divine force that would help him. This is how strong your desire or your belief has to be. Your belief in yourself and the belief of your, let's say, divine support. Yeah, you have to know that when you have been given an assignment, there will be a co-creative force helping you. That's what he knew. And what happened? The plague came, right? So finally, the frogs came and they went to the Pharaoh. So Moses took the slaves. He could take them. But the next day, the Pharaoh changed his mind and chased after Moses and the slaves. And we all know that story. When they got to the Red Sea, all of them had to be all the way in the water up to their necks before the water parted, right? The story of Moses is they went into the sea, and then the water parted, right? God made way for them. But they had to first, Moses had to assume the power, follow the calling. Then what he did was to still go to the authority. And this is what many women do. They either ask their men or they ask another mentor. I did another video where I said no male mentors, right? They asked another mentor how to do it, or they ask a institution. Many women, like, they don't dare to go for leadership and to step into visibility and leadership and power. They first need to get another certification, because a certification is like the white men bestowing allowance or power on you, right? You go and you earn your power by doing another certification and believing that now you have been bestowed, anointed by the white God of power, of institution, that you are now worthy. But then still, many women don't think that they're worthy, right? So it is going to the pharaoh. It's a normal process. We've all been there. I have been there too. I have been there too. That's why I can't talk about it. So the idea here is that this keeps us trapped, right? This keeps our own enslaved parts trapped, and we have to change our thinking. We have ways of being that keep us from being our whole self. And in order to become our whole self, and I also like to call it our holy self, our sovereign self, of our full self, we have to free the oppressed mindset. We have to free ourselves from thinking that we are slaves, right? Slaves or servants to other people, to the system, to a man, to our clients, right? No, I am sovereign. And that's how you need to think about yourself too. Transformation comes when we get the idea that frees us, that frees the oppressed part, right? You have to put your whole self into the water in order to be freed. You have to go for the dream. You have to go for the calling. You have to go for that next level in corporate or in your job or in your situation. And you have to go with everything that you are into your business. You have to go all in to your business by assuming power, and becoming more powerful through the way you think, you feel, you act. Yeah. And I want to give a little bonus here, because so many people in the personal development, manifestation field, or also in leadership, speak about nervous system regulation, which is a huge part of building capacity, because our body, if depending on how you grew up, what you think, if you were raised in a culture that wanted to make you believe as a woman that you are lesser than, that you're groomed just to be a wife, that you're groomed to just be a have a little job and that's okay. If that's the culture, you definitely have suppressed parts. And you once you assume power and you go into leadership by becoming visible with your true ideas, you will be triggered. That's what it is. What is a trigger? It is the world around you and your mindset that you have believed up until now expanding, and now you're getting out into visibility. And visibility inherently is something that is very dangerous for people, because it puts you on a display. And whenever you are on a display, you are making yourself vulnerable, right? Because people can judge you, people will judge you, people will attack you. And if you are in a position where people think you should be quiet, you can be seen but not heard, and especially not assuming a powerful idea or a powerful position that you are going for now, you will trigger a lot of people's demons. You will trigger the subconscious mind of people who think that they have the right to power. White people, right? Men and people who have been maybe historically more privileged than you. And now you are coming along as a woman or as a woman of color saying, I claim my spot in capitalistic power hierarchy because I am now here. I have something valuable to offer. I am valuable. My time is valuable. My thoughts are valuable. My contribution is valuable. And I am acting on it, and I am charging for it. That in itself is a big threat to the whole power structure that is the Pharaoh in the story. The Pharaoh is the system. The Pharaoh is the ruler. The Pharaoh is the top of the hierarchy. It's a man. It's a man in power. And today, our notion of the man in power, most of the time, is a man in power, and definitely is a white man in power. And most of the time, it's an old white man in power who has been at times also been a depiction of God. Right? That is the whole scheme that we live in. So when you, as a woman or as a woman of color, come along and threaten that power hierarchy, you're going to be a trigger. So it's very important for you to fuel yourself with the right mindset, to learn about, of course, nervous system regulation, because you will get triggered because you are a trigger. Yeah, and it can feel like you're being attacked and your life is being threatened, and sometimes that actually also happens, right? So those this thing is just one part of this whole pursuit for power, the nervous system regulation, more money, more capacity, right? More money, more capacity, more power, more visibility, more influence, more change. That is the trajectory that we're on. But it's also about learning how to navigate social dynamics elegantly, right? Because every social dynamic can either be a landmine of bombs and triggers, or when you learn to read the cues, when you learn to read the room, you can navigate yourself more elegantly through those rooms in order to get your interests met and to get ahead in your agenda instead of being the pawn of everybody else's story. So that's the little bonus here, because I wanted to put in that nervous system regulation part. It's a very important part, but that's not where it ends and that's not where it begins, right? It's the pursuit of freeing yourself from an enslaved, oppressed mindset in order to assume power and then think powerfully, move powerfully, speak powerfully, and act powerfully in the capitalistic market. Okay, so that's it for today. I want to ask you, what is it about you that you know that you need to change? What is one of the parts inside of you where you still feel incapable, where you still feel like a victim, where you still feel like the oppressed, where you still feel unfairly treated? Because again, this world is not fair. This world works through people who assume power or have power and dare to act on it, right? So you cannot wait in the corner to be saved. You have to save yourself. And if you want to be saved, or if you want to be your own savior, you want to learn the strategies, how you can become the best version of yourself. And if you want to work with me, go to the description box down below, apply for the next cohort of the Life Mastery Program, or sign up for a strategy session with me to find out if we're a good fit to work together one on one. So take action, take charge, don't wait, because time is of the essence and your time is valuable, but only if you use it. If you waste it, you've already told yourself how much you value your life. All right. So take charge. And until then, bye.